is also about being able to be open and creating a space, an atmosphere, an environment where people can interrogate your thinking. Okay, so the question is, which of these best describes your organization's or your communication style? So in fact, here it is. Which one? Do you encourage people to speak up, ask you questions? Do you tell people, don't ask? Or is it just about other things? Here we're worried about share price, targets, KPIs, efficiency, productivity. Okay, just put your head down and do your job. Okay, I think this is, yes, I do want some feedback in the chat. You can speak for yourself or you can speak for your organization. Do you encourage people to speak up? Do you ask questions? Let's see what people are saying. Hello, Rita Kanini, 1. Or Rita Kadini, yes, 1. Dawn, 1. Encourage people to speak up. Fantastic. 2. Thank you. Pamela, encourage people to speak up, but sometimes people hesitate. Yes. Yeah. 2. Jameen. Sure. I mean, we can interrogate this and we can find out. Do you create that environment? Do you ask the right sorts of questions? I am constantly in a position where I am, not constantly, but a lot of the time in a position where I'm talking to a potential client, asking them to take on my services. And always in those Zoom meetings, it's always, or in those Teams meetings, the tendency is for me to talk about everything we've done, who we've worked with, instead of asking questions. Where are the gaps? What do you guys need? Why did you come to us? Okay, what would success look like for you? So again, I put myself in that category of I need to work on my communication skills. All righty. How are we doing, folks? Are we good? How old is this young man? Huyu kijana, how old is he? How old is this young man? How old is this young man? How old is this young man? Seven, Julius. Thank you. 7, 5, 5, 5, 6, 10, Kelvin. 7, 4, Peggy, maybe. 5, Diana, 6, 8. Sure, okay, yes, all right. Your answers are not bad. I think we're around there. We're around there. We're looking at sort of that age gap. The question to you is, can you present or talk about or share what you do for a living so that this young man understands completely, totally, without reservation? In other words, the language that you use, how you present the information, formally or informally, without, using, I don't know, baby talk or, diluting. Can you speak so that this young man can understand? In fact, that is a serious test. I have presented this slide to senior data engineers, to scientists for world-renowned organizations. Can you present your information, your scientific findings that you present at conferences with some of the smartest people in the world? And if the answer is no, then maybe there's something you can work on. Here's the thing. A message that can be presented simply. Now, we can quibble whether a 7-year-old or 6-year-old can understand, but presenting your message simply, so that it is easy for people to understand, is a marker of a great communicator. I can't put that in any other words. Because in a world that is drowning with information overload and data, as we say, we want to help the person understand, not throw them more water. And again, you can think of formal presentations. You can think of, you're talking about, particularly if you're in a technical area or you have a particularly, complicated process that you want to share, or a product. I mean, we've all, either been there or can understand that situation. Can you present that message that that 7-year-old can understand? And if you can't, you need to work on it. In fact, here's something else that might come as no surprise. Shorter is always better. Now, when we talk about shorter, we talk about just presenting the information in a way that is easily understood. Could be a shorter presentation. You're asked to speak for 1 hour, speak for 45 minutes. I hope I can hold myself to the same account. Okay. Okay. This is my mantra. I like to think this is my mantra. Be brief, be sincere, be gone. Okay. Share your message. Maybe leave them wanting more. Okay. Speak from the heart with that authenticity. And then people need to move on with their lives because we are drowning in clicks and notifications and phones buzzing and just a digital world gone absolutely crazy. We are drowning. So how do you, wade through that sea of noise? Yeah. I'll go back to this. Make it easy for people to understand. Don't make people work so hard. You know how that algorithm works, right? It throws up something. Once that video is gone, something else comes on. I mean, I'm not even going to go into that direction. Oh, here's something else. 3. The power of 3. Now, 3 is a magic number in communication. In fact, your latest and greatest artificial intelligence, if you go in and talk to it, has been programmed to produce content in 3s. I think you all know this by now. In fact, there's too many 3s now. But over and above that, that 3 has always been a magic number, presenting information, sets of 3, ideas of 3, repeating something 3 times. I've been using this through this entire conversation, just using 3. It creates stickability, it creates memorability, and is one of the ways that you can communicate effectively to an audience. And again, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Like I said, AI, everything comes out in 3s these days. But even you look around, adverts, 3s, movie titles, 3s, signposts, 3s, and so on and so forth. Okay. Holding myself to the aforementioned promise of finishing early, Bill Gates, of course, is an individual who has changed maybe the way that we work. Okay. This is Bill Gates in, I don't know, 1995, giving a presentation with PowerPoint. And I don't know if you can notice that, not just because it's the quality of that picture, but just look at what's behind it. The amount of information that is on those bullet points. And they're called bullet points for a reason, because that, similar to a machine gun, is killing the audience. That is Bill Gates, the programmer, the quintessential nerd. And in fact, you watch those presentations, he's literally speaking as if from one programmer to another. Here's Bill Gates 20 years later. Where is that picture? There we go. I mean, what a difference 2 decades make. And granted, this was a TED Talk, so there are certain guidelines that you have to follow, but it's night and day, right? Presents an image, presents some information, forwards, one slide. Awesome. Wonderful. Watch that transition. So who are you? Are you stuck 1995 Bill Gates? Too much information, whether it's on PowerPoint or otherwise, or are you more succinct? 2025 Bill Gates, and so on. In fact, Bill Gates is famous for his trajectory in terms of public speaking. It's an incredible story if you care to delve into it. We should all be Bill Gates 2025, just in terms of presenting that information. And I think this slide encapsulates a lot of what I'm talking about. All right, how are we doing on time? Let's run to the big finish. so that we have time for questions. A long-haul flight that leaves JKIA on its way to, I don't know, shall we say the Middle East? Our flight's going to the Middle East. I wonder. Are there flights to Dubai? I'm just curious. Okay. Maybe Europe. Okay. That flight has, the pilot puts in the radar. And my understanding is that a lot of these planes are flown sort of automatically, if you will. I mean, the pilot takes off, puts in the radar, and kicks back and has a beverage and a meal, just like the rest of us in economy class. Right? Now, if that radar happens to be a degree, 1 degree off, right? Every 60 miles, that plane is 1 mile off course. Are you doing the math in your head? Or am I painting that visual picture, right? So 1 degree off, 1 mile off every 60 miles. Another 120 miles, 2 miles off. Okay? And so on and so forth. So if that plane was supposed to fly for 8 hours to Frankfurt, it'll have done a 360 and landed back where it took off. Now, I'm using this story, if you will, anecdote, as a metaphor for where some of us might be with our communication, right? We're 1 degree off. Maybe not so much we need to take, and just based on some of the things that I've spoken about. But the compounding effect over a long term can literally derail careers. Now, can it be fixed? Maybe like a plane, if the plane was to adjust that radar, it would immediately get back on flight? Maybe. Or maybe it'll turn like the Titanic, right? Slowly, slowly. Okay? Either way, the fact is, bringing in these different tools in your tool set of communication, right? And starting with that premise that I initiated about the only reason to stand up and speak is to change the world. You're introducing yourself, you're handing over your business card, you are in the most mundane of meetings. But there is something in the back of you that looks at the reason that your gums are flapping is because the people there are going to remember you. You're going to be seen, heard, and remembered for the right reasons. That was my big finish, ladies and gentlemen. So, what have you picked up from our, 50 minutes together? What have you learned? What have you relearned? What are you going to start? What are you going to stop? What are you going to continue? What have you brought on board? Wake up or chat. Let us talk. Or you can unmute and we can have that quick sort of, just to make sure that we are on the same page. Of the few things that I talked about, which one created the stickability, the memorability? Let's see what you have to say. Where's the chat? Oh, please. Rita Kadini, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, let's see if my camera is still glitchy. I can turn it on. I had a glitchy camera. Oh, let's see. Hang on. Yes. What have you learned or what have you relearned? There we go. Yeah, camera's still a little bit glitchy. Okay, that's fine. Rose, are you able to read the chat? You can just tell me. I'm not able to scroll the way down. Yeah. What are people saying?
Okay. So Richard said the power of 3.
Yes, I saw that one.
Patrick says 1.
1.
Yes, 1.
Okay. Sawa.
Yeah, so I'm also just going down to check the comments. Rita again says, be brief, be sincere, be gone.
Wonderful.
Buku said, simplicity in communication is the key.
Yeah.
Irene Mendes says, the principles of what is it for me and empathy.
Yes,
Pamela
that's
says
empathy.
1 degree. Pamela says 1 degree, of course, will change my trajectory and throw me off totally.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Julius actually took a screenshot and say, why should I care if you do not answer that? So you remember that the most brilliant content will land as noise.
Awesome.
Faith says, reland, the short is better, be brief, be sincere, be gone. Diana say, be brief also. Ekra says, keep communication simple. Joseph say, communication is the currency of leadership. Malebo, just because people are writing paragraphs on LinkedIn is not the way to go. Mary Minor, quite insightful. I have learned the power of three C's. McKenna, value your attention enough to tell you why this is worth your time. Lillian, I missed most of the session. I would appreciate a recording. We'll share a recording, Lillian. Kiambi, your speech presentation meant to change the world. June, the only reason to communicate is to change the world. Brenda, the most authentic does not have to be complex, simplicity. Vivian, it is not someone who never hesitates, but some who hesitates with hesitation. It's not someone who never hesitates, but some who hesitates with, I think it was with intention. That is what maybe Lillian meant. Yeah. Caroline, open your mouth only to change the world. Dawn, instead of asking, do people feel comfortable, speak to them. Ask what happens to them if they do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. Oh, guys, that was great. I really appreciate that feedback. So, as we have been talking about, Vicky mentioned it, and you've been seeing the posters, we are running this session beginning next month where I'll be talking about communication skills, personal branding, executive presence in sessions like this. So please feel free to sign up, share with your team members. This is through Cross Knowledge. Sessions are recorded. It is online learning. And we're really trying to see if we can move the needle forward in these really important areas. So you can take, again, either a screenshot of that, or you can, with your camera, take a shot of the QR code. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, there's
My
also a
personal
link. There's also a link on the chat. I've also posted a link on the chat.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you, Rose. Thank you for putting that. And then I have my own personal QR code. This is to me now. So again, for those of you who'd like to contact me directly, whether it's through LinkedIn or some other platform, you can also take that QR code with your smartphone. All right. So let's open the floor to anybody who might have feedback. You can have feedback, or you can ask for clarification, or indeed just any comment that you'd like to make before we wind up.
Marvin Marvis says, thanks, Derek. Your personal branding training changed how I show up. I will recommend this to everyone.
And that was that Marvin or Marvis?
His name is Marvin Marvis.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that feedback. Thank you very much, Marvin. Any other questions, comments, feedback, ideas?
I think there's a question in the chat
Rose,
box.
anything else? I'm sorry?
There's a question in the chat box.
Okay, I think I can see it. In this part of the world where authenticity is a bit of a problem, how do we cultivate authenticity? Okay, so that is that question came from single minus. All right.
From
Kiambi.
Kiambi.
From Kiambi, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, this question of authenticity comes up quite a bit. You know, I've gone through a metamorphosis over the last, shall we say, 6, maybe 7 years. And my view of the world is one where I would like to put my best foot forward at all times, seen or unseen. I'm going somewhere with this. Stay with me. That higher version of myself, notice I'm using the word higher, highest version of myself, is one that knows that, you know, my day starts with how I treat myself, my body, my morning routine. It starts with the knowledge that I put in, you know, throughout the day. You know, what I choose to be discerning in this world of information. Am I consuming AI slop? Am I consuming, you know, things that the algorithm is throwing up on me on social media that are simply not enhancing that type of person that I want to live, being that highest version? And then it goes to the attitude, okay, which is how I look at the world, the story that I tell myself on everything, okay? I'm going to encounter people who might not bring that highest version of themselves, okay? But my dealings with them has to be taking the higher road, okay? Then there is an S there in terms of working on what I'm good at and enhancing that skill and making it better so that it becomes what I call a success habit. In other words, that to me is being authentic. So communicating to my team, I take that seriously. It's a WhatsApp communication in the morning with my team. I am thinking to myself through the lens of what I've just articulated to you. What's the highest version of myself? Is it a poorly spelt, um, not well thought out piece of communication? Okay. Or is it something that involves a little bit more in terms of who I am as that highest version of my personal brand? A proper greeting, okay? A word of gratitude, and so on and so forth. And if we can default to that, to me, that is being the authentic you. Kiambi, I don't know if that addresses a little bit of what you're talking about. Of course, this is a conversation that can be dissected several ways, but that authentic version of you should be the highest version of you. Just be better. Be better when it comes to communicating. Okay. What was the next question, Rose?
I think that's the only question on the chat. Yes, it's the only one I've seen.
Okay. I can't read these. I can see.
Brenda just said, thanks for the insightful session.
Yeah.
I will carry with me the power of 3 in communication. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, anything else? Any other comments? Kiambi, I can see your response. It does. Thanks.
It just confirmed.
It does. Thanks. All right, Rose, I'll hand it back to you. Ladies and gentlemen, see you at the top. That's my parting shot. See you at the top.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was very insightful. It was very powerful. I think we are all living here with very, very many lessons that we've learned about communication and how to communicate. Thank you so much. Now I know the only reason I should be communicating is to change the world. Asante sana, Derek. Thank you so much to all our participants who've been so engaging and very, very a cheerful group here. We are truly humbled. We are truly grateful for joining us. As we've mentioned, I've also shared on the chat, we have a course that is coming up on the 23rd. I'll be following up with a phone call for those who managed to share their when they were registering their phone numbers. I will definitely follow up with a phone call. And thank you so much to everyone who've managed to join this particular webinar. We are truly humble and grateful. Asanteni sana. Thank you so much, Mr. Derek. That was very powerful. Thank you all and have a lovely evening. Asanteni sana.